You know, they say women shouldn't be bossy.
We're out here reclaiming that word. What's so wrong with being the boss? Bossy. Welcome back to Bossy. I'm really excited because today we're trying something a little bit new. This is kind of an experiment because one of the things that we really wanted to bring to you were tactics, specific how-tos of how to do things with your business and how to get started with your business. And one of the biggest questions that I get from entrepreneurs who are starting and scaling their businesses is, how do I do advertising and marketing for my business? And there are a lot of different ways that you can market your business. You can market your business organically, which means you're not paying to do the advertising. It's free. Maybe you're posting on social media, hoping people will find your post, hoping the post will go viral. Maybe you're reaching out to someone on LinkedIn and sending them a sales email. Those are all marketing tactics that don't require you to spend money on the tactic. They're pretty much free. But then there's also another way to do marketing, which is paid advertising. So we've all seen advertisements on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. You're scrolling through. You're maybe sitting on the toilet scrolling through because that's where a lot of people see ads. And you're scrolling and you see in between posts from your friends an advertisement for something. And you may hate those advertisements, but if you're an entrepreneur, they're a good opportunity to get your brand in front of people who may not have already known about your business. So if you're trying to get your brand idea in front of someone who's not your mom, not your friend, not your cousin, not someone who already knows you, you're trying to expand beyond people who already know you, paid advertising is one way to do that. It's a little bit more of an advanced strategy, and I'll break down exactly why it's more of an advanced strategy. So depending on where you are in your business journey, you can either listen to this as something and put it on your roadmap. It's something that you're going to do a little bit later and down the road as part of your plan for entrepreneurship, world domination, or you can jump right into it now and use some of the tips that you learned today to jump right into doing paid advertisement for your business. I've been running ads in my own businesses for over 7 years. I spent over $1 million on advertisements. You are welcome, Facebook. You're welcome, Google. I've sent them a lot of money, but I've also made a lot of money, millions of dollars back from it. And so I want to talk to you about what I've learned, what pro tips I have from that journey, and kind of how you can get started thinking about a plan for paid advertisements to scale your business. So the first tip that I have for you is to know your numbers before you start. And maybe it sounds like I'm like, oh, I'm scolding you, like you got to know your numbers for your business. That's a thing that people often say to entrepreneurs, like, know your numbers. But the reason it's really important for you to know the numbers of the funnel of your business is because Facebook is not going to call you and be like, hey, I see something's wrong with your funnel. I think you should fix it. Please pause giving me money while you fix this, and then you can come back and give me more money once you fixed it. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to happily take your money. Facebook will happily take your money. TikTok will happily take your money. Google will happily take your money for advertising. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that all the steps of your funnel are correct first before you start investing money into advertising. Now, what do I mean by a funnel? So a funnel, and I'll put up, if you're watching on YouTube or maybe on Spotify, you'll be able to see a visual. And if not, you might want to come over to YouTube so you can see a visual for some of the things that I'm talking about. If you've never run an ad before, if you've never thought about a funnel before, having a visual might be better. So when you think about a funnel, and I have my computer over here, so if you see me looking over to the side, it's because I'm looking at what you're looking at. So when you have a funnel, there are different steps of how someone becomes aware of your business. So starting from awareness all the way to like them making a purchase, conversions, even past that to like them being a repeat customer and loyal. So at the top of the funnel, what we call in marketing a top of funnel strategy, is how people become aware of your business, how you attract brand new people. If you're doing organic stuff, if you're talking to friends and family, the way that you're getting awareness of people is talking to people that you already know. But once you want to expand beyond that, ads might be the way that people become aware of your business. Then there's the next step, which is informing people about what it is that you do and really helping them make the consideration of like, do I want to work with this company? Do I want to give them my business? Do I like the products that they have? Do I like the services that they have? That's the next step. Then you have a step that's kind of like a conversion step where people actually make the purchase. And then you've also got really engagement and loyalty as like what we call the bottom of the funnel. So this is what I mean when I say a marketing funnel. When you think about a marketing strategy for your business, you should be thinking about it through the lens of a funnel like this. And you, by the way, could have multiple, even more steps than I'm showing on the screen. Like it doesn't have to be a 4-step awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty funnel. It could have more steps than that. For example, if I think about my own funnel and my own business, the top of funnel is advertisement. So we run advertisements on Facebook, some on Google, but primarily on Facebook. And when I say Facebook, by the way, Facebook owns Instagram. So there's like one Meta platform where you run ads for either Facebook or Instagram. So the first thing someone might see is an advertisement about it for my own business. Then when they click on that ad, they go to a sign up page where they can sign up for like a free workshop, for example, to learn about building apps and how to build apps and our unique approach to building apps. That's the next thing that they see. Then if they've signed up for like reminder emails or reminder texts, like when the workshop is about to come up, that is the next step of the funnel, kind of this reminder sequence. For the next step of the funnel, which is the 4th step for my own funnel, which is like the actual live workshop. So in the actual live workshop, I get to show people, this is kind of for, if you think about that funnel I showed you earlier, the consideration step, helping people be able to like understand what it is that my service does, what it is that my business does, why it's unique, why you might want to work with me. So that's what that actual live workshop is. After the workshop, we allow people to book free app strategy calls with me and my team. So that's the next step after that. And for people who are interested in working with us as customers, they can sign up to work as customers on that call. So that's what that next step is. And then there's the actual sign up. So that's what my specific funnel looks like. Now, let's say that you have a different kind of business. Let's say you have a subscription business, like a software subscription business, and it's like a monthly subscription that people pay every month, and it starts with a free trial. Your funnel might be a little bit different. You might start with an ad, and then there's a landing page where you can sign up for that free trial. And maybe you put in a credit card for the free trial. Maybe you don't have to put in your credit card for the free trial, but there's a still trial next. And then maybe there's an automated email sequence making sure you know about all the features that you can take advantage of in the software, because you want people, as they're considering, the whole point of the trial is that they're considering what it is that you do, they're testing it out, they're trying out your tool or your software or your business to decide if they want to be a paying customer. So your consideration, my consideration step is mainly like a free workshop. Your consideration step might be a free trial, or it might be something that you have going on your website. Then there's the actual conversion in the e-commerce example where you actually, in the software example, where you actually convert from a free trial to a paid user, right? That's what happens at the bottom of the funnel. So this is what I'm talking about when I say a marketing funnel. And this context is super important because each step of the funnel, there's a number. There's like a conversion rate. There's a number of people that do that step. And you need to really know your numbers at each step of the funnel. That's your ticket. Knowing these numbers for each step of the funnel is your ticket to know, okay, I have the green light. It makes sense for me to start investing money in advertising and spending money on advertising. Before then, you should focus only on organic. Focus on organic until you know these numbers. So while you're doing your organic marketing, while you're posting on social media, you're telling friends and family about it, maybe you're doing partnerships, you're doing those tactics so that you can get the main metrics of each step of this funnel. So for example, if I know that people are coming to a workshop, at that step of the funnel, I know exactly what % of people who sign up for the workshop actually show up for the workshop. In my funnel, I know that number, right? It's like 30%. Or I also know of the people who actually sign up for that free app strategy call, how many of those people actually purchase, right? I know that number. It's going to be like 20, 25% for my whole team. So what I know is I know these numbers, and what I can do then is when I start running advertisements, I know that if something's not going right, I know, oh, okay, it's exactly step 4 of the funnel that's not going right because that number is lower than it normally is. I have those benchmarks. And the reason you want to have those benchmarks, again, I said this earlier, is that Facebook, Google, they're not going to call you up and be like, hey, I see your funnel's not working super effectively. I know you're spending money on it and you're sending us money, but you can stop sending us money, fix it, and then, start sending us money again. They're not going to do that. They're going to happily eat your money. So you need to know those numbers first, and that's my first tip for you. My second tip for you is really figuring out who you want to see the ad. And you can go Facebook, Google, they all have these advertising platforms that you can go to. You can sign up completely free for like a free business account and go to their business ads manager. And on the ads manager, you can set up and say who exactly you want to see the advertisement. Because here's the thing, like if you have a huge multi-million-dollar marketing budget, you can target your advertisements to everybody and their mama. You're welcome to do that. But then you got to pay for your ad to show up to people who maybe are not a good fit for your business, right? My grandma is probably not a good fit for your service or your business, depending on what it is. She might be a good fit, right? But you have a target customer that you want to go after. And this is where the targeting becomes really important on the platform, where you say, here's exactly who I want you to show my ad to. So, for example, and I'm going to pull up something on the screen so you can see this. One of the things that you can do in your targeting when you log into the ads manager is you can set the age of who should see the ad. So I want my ad to show to people who are between 18 and 65. That's actually really broad. You probably should not do that broad, because the way that you talk to an 18-year-old in your marketing messaging is totally different than how you would talk to a 65-year-old in your marketing messaging. So I want to target people who are between 18 and 30, for example. So you have a range. You also can put gender in there. So you start defining who exactly you want to see your ad. Another thing that you can do is location. Like, where do these people live? Are they in a certain city? Are they in a certain country? Are they a certain continent? If you have, for example, an e-commerce business and you only ship to the US and Canada, do not show your ad to someone in London where you can't ship there, right? So you want to really narrow this and narrow your focus. Or if you think people in a certain city might be more interested, or a certain location, or you want to start there and expand later. And then the most important thing that you can do with your ad targeting, determining who's going to see this advertisement, is you choose their interests. What are the types of things that my ideal customer is interested in, that wants to do, maybe that's clicking on and doing on the internet, that indicates to me that they would be interested in my product or service? That's what we're thinking about. So I'm putting up on the screen kind of what this looks like. When you go, for example, to Facebook's ads manager, you can choose who you want to target by and what you want to target by. So there's kind of these categories. So for example, there's like education, like what their education has been, financial status, life events that are going on, parents stuff that's going on, relationships, work. There's all these categories of interest that someone might have. And what we can do is we can go in and target who we want to actually see and talk to and show our ad to. So my second tip for you is to really think about who you want to see your ad. Go in and do your direct targeting so that you can set exactly who should see it. I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you have a online fitness apparel store. You have like clothing for fitness. You might decide that you want to target your ad to people who follow Nike Training Club, or who do CrossFit, or who use the MyFitnessPal app. Right? Those things tell you that that person might be interested in your specific business. One pro tip I love to do with targeting is called a lookalike audience. This is more of an advanced strategy. But a lookalike audience is where you take people who have come to a certain website, or maybe you have like a spreadsheet of them. So it could be like a spreadsheet of past customers, or it could be people who have made it to a certain page on your site. Maybe they read this certain blog post, or they did this certain thing. And what you can do is you can tell the platform, hey, I want you to find people that look like these people who did this activity. Lookalike audience has been a really big game changer for me in doing advertisements. If you want more advanced strategies on this, you can let me know in the comments if you want me to do a follow-up conversation and a follow-up episode on more advanced strategies with advertisements. But nonetheless, what's really important is we know what kinds of activities, what kinds of interests that person has, who's a perfect ideal match customer for you, and then we target your ad directly to them. The third tip that I have for you, the third thing you're going to do, is start thinking about your copy and creative. What I mean by copy is the text text that shows up, the description of written text under the ad. That's what we call copy. And your creative is going to be the video or the image that actually shows up next to the ad itself. So when you run your advertisement, you can choose where on social media you want it to be shown. And you actually will be surprised at like all the different options. So for example, if someone's watching stories on Instagram, you can show an ad. They're going through their stories with their friends, and you can show an ad in between friend number 1 and friend number 2. That's one place you could put your creative. And in that scenario, it needs to be like a short 15-minute video, 15-second video. Or you could have ads that are in the main Facebook feed, and you've got it right there in the center. You could have your ad be on the side panel of Facebook. You know how like it's not in the main feed, like right on the side, there's also advertisements. So there's all kinds of places you can put your creative. And with your creative, what you need is some text, what you want it to say, and then also the image or the video that goes with it. I really recommend you check out Canva. Canva has a lot of really great templates for what you could use for your images and for your creative. But my pro tip for your creative is actually not to spend a ton of time getting the perfect image, the perfect graphic design. It's kind of like a joke amongst people who do a lot of marketing and run businesses that the thing that converts the best is never the most beautiful graphic. It's never the most beautiful video, the thing that gets the most clicks. And so you don't want to spend a ton of time trying to overly perfect this graphic design that you're doing on Canva to get the perfect image for it. Don't do that. Come up with a bunch of different options, a bunch of videos. Maybe it could be of you talking about the product, you using the service, other customers, all kinds of things. Maybe pretty graphics that you made on Canva, but come up with a bunch of options, throw them into the ads manager where you can put in, here's what I want to show as the image, here's what I want to show as the video, here's the content of the copy. Put a bunch of options, and then what you can do is see which ones are most popular. It'll show you which ones people are clicking on the most. And the ones that are most popular, keep them on. Leave them on. And the ones that are not that popular, you can turn off. So then you're starting to optimize the ad and only keep what's most popular. For me, videos work way better than images. And what also works really well for my own ads are videos that have a lot of social proof included in them, or ones where I'm like doing a public speaking event. So for example, like I use my TEDx talk. I did a TEDx talk years ago that's been one of my highest performing creatives for my ad, or an interview that I did, for example, which has been a really high converting creative for the ad. And if you don't have these existing interviews, you can sit down with a friend, you guys put up your iPhone or put up your phone, record each other, interview each other. That kind of works as content as well. So creative is the next thing you need to think about. You could put creative anywhere. You could put it for Reels. You could put it in the main feed. There's all kinds of different styles of creative that you can go into the platform. You can kind of see on the screen. I'm showing this to you. You can go into the platform, choose what kind of placement you want, and then put a bunch of ideas for creative for ads. The fourth tip that I have for you is to set a starting budget. So this is a scenario where we are now graduating past doing organic marketing, and we're now starting to invest in the marketing of the business. And so that means that you need a budget for doing that marketing, right? I started running ads personally when I was 1 to 2 years, maybe it was 1.5 years into running the business. So I'd already been doing organic marketing for 1 to 2 years, maybe a year and a half at that point. And once I was ready to expand my audience, expand the people who were going to see my business, what I was ready to do was set a tester starter budget. Now, the way that I set my test budget was I actually did it related to the product price. So what I was trying to do at first was if I spend $1, I want to make that dollar back. First goal. Eventually, you want to do, of course, more than that. You want to spend $1 and make $3 back, $2 back. So what I did was I chose, at the time, my product price was about $2,000. And so what I did was I chose my weekly budget to be $2,000 because it was close to the product price. And that was going to allow me to see, can I just get one purchase of this? Right? If you have a lower product price, you can do a lower starting budget, but you get kind of what I'm saying, that I relate it to the product price because you need to at least spend enough to get one sale. right? So my fourth tip for you is to create a starter budget for you to get going. You don't want to pour thousands and thousands of dollars in this unnecessarily. You want to test it, you want to refine the process, and then you can crank up the spend. So to be intentional and to be cautious about it, my fourth tip for you is to create a starter budget, really based on and connected to how much your product costs. Okay. Which brings me very nicely to my last tip for you when you're thinking about running ads and doing paid advertisement and creating a strategy for your paid advertisement for your business, which is you've got to calculate if this thing is working or not. And we need a core metric. We need some core numbers to know. Is this going well? Is this going terribly? Should we stop everything we're doing here and go back to the organic stuff we were doing? Or is this going incredibly well and we should crank it up and we're like on the path to huge scaling numbers for the business? Like, how do we know if it's working or not? So one of the ways that we know if it's working or not is this one metric we call ROAS, R-O-A-S, return on ad spend is what this acronym means. And essentially it's just an equation. So the math equation is how much you made from the ad divided by how much you spent on the ad. Your return divided by the ad spend, return on ad spend. That's what we're calculating. That's the most important metric for you to track. Facebook, Google, they're going to give you all kinds of metrics, all these other things. The most important one for you to calculate is return on ad spend. And I actually recommend that you calculate this yourself as opposed to relying on the number that the ad platform gives you. So what I do is I create a spreadsheet. I have a column for how much we made that week from ads. I have a column for how much we spent. I am tracking some other numbers that are core part of the funnel because I want to know if the return on ad spend is not great, well, what else in the funnel didn't go well? What was broken? So I'm tracking all the other numbers. But the most important one is that column that is called ROAS, my ROAS column, return on ad spend. So for example, if you make $200 and you spend $100, you do that 200 divided by 100, and that's a 2x return on ad spend. You doubled your money. Or if you made $100 and you spent $100, that's a 1x return on ad spend. That means you broke even. So what I do is I create a spreadsheet. I'm always tracking my return on ad spend. And if something's not looking right, if the return on ad spend is low, my general goal is I'm trying to get a 2x or above return on ad spend. So if it's looking like it's getting kind of low, I can pause, go look at the other areas. What are the areas of the funnel, the steps that are causing this return on ad spend to be low? And so you really have to be paying attention and doing these check-ins every week. Now, one kind of important thing you need to know about marketing, and I really learned this the hard way when it comes to paid advertising, is that if you have an ad that's just crushing it, it's doing great, it's making you lots of money, it's growing the business, you're getting lots of customers, customers love it, they're commenting on it, they're signing up from it, all this is happening, it is not guaranteed that that specific ad will continue working forever. So you have to regularly test new ideas, new creative to keep testing this. We have an episode that we did recently about debt and some like mess ups that I did using debt money to fund my advertisement when it wasn't doing well. Well, actually, when it was doing well, it was actually a really good use of debt money, right? Because the interest rate was much lower than the 3x, 2x I was making on the business, but on doing advertisements on the business. But when it's not working well, you got to be really careful about that. So you can go listen to that episode about all the mistakes that I made doing that. But what's important for you to know, and what I didn't know at the time, was if you have one ad that's rocking it, it's doing great, it's crushing it, it's not going to necessarily crush it forever. So you have to keep experimenting and keep trying so you have a backup list of other ads that are doing really well that you can also use. So this is an advanced strategy. There are not that many multi-million-dollar businesses that do no paid advertising, right? For most businesses, when they scale, they eventually jump into advanced strategies of advertising. It may not be what you start with. I recommend you start with organic marketing, but you may be thinking about this as part of your plan. And I'm really curious to hear, is this eventually part of your plan or currently part of your plan for your marketing? So if you come over to YouTube, I can see everybody's answers in the comments. Come over and tell me what you think about the idea of paying money and doing paid advertising for your business. Is it something that you're open to, or would you never do it? Tell me in the comments. I'm super excited to hear. If you have tried it before, maybe you can share a little bit about what your experience has been, and I can come into the comments and give you thoughts and feedback on your strategy, or if you've thought about doing it and what your experience has been.